Okay, this is part one of an 11-part series on this list of, what did I call them? 11 non-normalized anopodes. Now, people ask me what anopode means. Okay, well, it's just a variation on pode. Skeptics were fond of having lists, the 5 podes or whatever, which is like a foot, 5 feet of a structure. And anopode comes from, it's just, it's not an official root word type thing from anode, way up. So it's just a footing for something that you can climb up higher on. Ironically, there's an ano also has a Latin root, but since pod is Greek, I think we can go with the Greek one. I just made a video on this, but I'll start with this one because this is on the list, and I had a video that was silent. So I'll really go into the part that was in the silent video. See, if you are, this changes your perspective. This is my version, really, of the Buddhist premise that we're all one. Some people, for example, people debate philosophy online. They believe in a principle that you can find this path, and when they say you're one, they often also say you're nothing. Everything is nothing, and nothing is real. And through this similarity of nothing to nothing, I guess we're supposed to get this feeling of connection and oneness. But this really becomes in philosophy there's grammar. Somebody has some thought that gives them an intellectual footing, and you can put a lot of things in there, very different things. You can put religion. You can put, I'm not sure if there's something else you can. Religion's complicated. Religion is like a whole, everything at once. You're supposed to get all of the different ideas from the religion, but of course they do cover just subsets of our needs. But in the sense of a feeling of oneness and a connection with, so this is important to people's just basic psychology of, do they feel like they belong? You have to have a picture of your connection to what's around you, and it has to include your distance. It has to include a pathology of separation. Now, the thing about being your ancestors and thinking, well, I did those things that they did, and justifying it, one, as a thought experiment, but also because there is a connection of life. The egg is living, the sperm is living. Now, the sperm is arguably a little trick life, it has its own internal food source, a little energy source, and it's not really a food. Technically speaking, it's a little trick, but it obviously is the continuation of life. You can kill a sperm and then it will not continue. The life will not continue. And I argue that the continuation of life is enough. There's a reason to have an identity there, of course. Your identity becomes something more like your DNA, right? When you say I, you mean your whole lineage of all your connected DNA. Anyway, when you see yourself as connected back in time this way, and you really feel that way. First of all, it's very powerful to feel like you can, because we have thousands of years of written history, you can have this sense of, I remember being alive 1,000 years. Some of those memories are dim, but it can be pretty convincing considering how much you can learn. So that's very powerful. Once you settle your metaphorical soul on that feeling, everybody around you also has this lineage that hooks in and becomes identical to yours. in a rather short number of generations, shockingly short in most, in the cases that people um, in the world today. So that's the first step. This is, we are one. Now, you are not exactly like them, but you're not exactly like yourself as a child either. And you don't owe 100% allegiance to them, just like you don't owe 100% allegiance to yourself when you were a child. Or in the future, you don't owe yourself allegiance to yourself in the future, per se, in the sense, well, allegiance is the wrong word. I mean, you don't have to, like, a decision you make in the future is not going to bind you now. You don't even know about it. That's an interesting question, though, because it's like trying to guess what those questions are is an important thing. But I was also thinking the reason I was using a child is not because they're childlike, but just because if you make a decision when you're a child, you're not bound to it as an adult. You get to rethink it. You might have some obligation, and maybe allegiance is the thing that you have, and you have some obligation to consider it an obligation to yourself. But you're just fundamentally connected to that person. Well, it turns out you're connected to all these things. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then the oneness goes further than that, because if you believe in evolution, as I do, that from I hate to call it inanimate because chemical reactions are very animated, but non-sentient, non-living materials, you have life. So non-living materials and laws of physics are also our ancestor, and we are them. So we are them. Okay, that's really crucial. We are them. This is really where the denial of dualism leads. Okay, we also are the laws of physics, our ancestors. We once were laws of physics and became living form. So the other thing I'd like to say is a bunch of people were asking, what does it Anopode mean? Okay, bye.